Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm going to do a video on what I've learned about friendship. Because I saw, sorry if I'm looking a bit cocooned or like, you know, I definitely got to redo my, because my lipstick is, yeah, I literally can't see myself, so maybe it's good because I'm not constantly like being vain and staring in the viewfinder. So I want to talk about what I've learned about friendship. And I think it's important to realise relationships involve all the time. You can't predict relationships, you can't predict the what, I mean you can predict the astrological configuration if you look at that, but you can't predict how people are gonna react, you can't predict people's motivations in general and their lives that have created the experience that you may have had with them, and you can be grateful for what you've learned and experienced with and for them. I think friendships are just really about mutual respect. Like, I'm trying to not be too like obvious, because I was going to do a video about what I've learned about romantic relationships, but I feel like friendships is just something where I've had a couple of friendship breakups recently. I think friendship breakups just come back around whenever someone changes. You can't really, again, predict. I think one thing that does cause friendship breakups is if, for example, one person is doing all the work and someone else is kind of catering to another person in some way. I just think it's about reciprocal benefit generally in relationships, I feel like, and I'm talking about friendships less so than social acquaintances, because I think we all interact on this really special level when you're just meeting people from day to day. Like, it's really cool how sometimes you can just relate to people, but I'm talking about friendships and the functionality of friendships. Like, I probably should have made some notes, I sound like I'm just rambling, but I think it's about mutual benefit, and if someone is not putting in any required time and effort, it's about like, because I think a lot of energy can go down the drain, and I talked about this in my love languages video. I think a lot of effort could be put down the drain if you don't give someone what they want. I think it's just about discerning like their cup, not their cup, their cup size. I don't think I'm trying to gesture boobs. Their capacity as a person, in terms of, I've heard it says in the Bible, don't be unequally yoked in a relationship. And I think that probably goes for all relationships, and I think this is part of the reason why friendships kind of can, and relationships in general can kind of drift apart, because I think if your capacity is limited for some reason, like, you know, you've had some sort of problem, or you just, you know, you have a lot of stuff on which makes you ignore your capacity, and kind of settle for whatever capacity someone else is offering to you. I definitely know that because your capacity changes throughout your life depending on your relationships, how old you are, what your circumstances. And I definitely think I've grown my capacity as a person to hold more because I give myself more. I think if you grow up not giving yourself certain things, you can't expect that from another person because you don't know how to receive it. But if you work on yourself and you learn how to receive stuff and therefore grow your capacity as a person, and this can happen during relationships and cause breakups, as I said, and that's why it can work at the beginning of a friendship or a relationship and not at the end, because you've both changed and your capacity's both changed. And often that's kind of not the point of it. I mean, I don't know if it's the point or not, but you can often do things which makes you discern from each other that you don't want what the other one can give you, or you can't give that to each other. I guess this gives a sense of peace, for like how it's not your fault when friendships and relationships break up. When there's abuse involved, it's kind of a different story, but like, obviously it's definitely not your fault then. So yeah, I want to touch on how, if people are codependent or narcissists, or narcissist slash codependent, cause I think people that are narcissists also, I've learned, are quite addicted to supply, so that can count as codependent. But if you're codependent, such as you require another person to give you that consistent validation and you're willing to degrade yourself for that validation, and someone else is like only about themselves and they want to degrade other people, like I honestly don't really, I can kind of, I don't really want to talk about narcissism and codependence right now. Like if the codependent heals from that, the narcissist won't necessarily, like there's this theory called the human magnet syndrome, where if there's a narcissist and a codependent, they kind of fit, but if the codependent heals, the magnets kind of don't really align anymore, and there's sort of this break, and they're not really magnetized to each other like they were before. And yeah, like I think that can be a factor. As well as that, I don't know, just like a lot of things can affect it. I think it even says in the Bible, like, God gives you angels for different seasons of life, and if there's anything I've learned in my faith recently, it's that God gives you what you need at the time you need it, even when you don't know that you need it. So if you need a season of solitude, which I feel like the last season I was in was a season of solitude for me, and I did need it, and it was really, and I don't know how long, if I'm going to have more seasons of solitude, who knows. I mean, I have friends, I have people I can talk to, you know, don't think I'm like completely like a complete hermit all the time, but so even though I kind of look like one now, lol, it's cold, so yeah, so I think independence is really important in friendships. I kind of stole that off someone's 9 things you should learn about a relationship video. But yeah, I think importance is really healthy, and I've done a whole video on like why, like the pressure of needing loads of friends, actually, where I kind of touch on healthy relationships, so I'm not going to like go over that now and what I've learned about healthy relationships, but I know this is kind of the title of this video as well. But I just wanted to touch on like why relationships can end and stuff. But yeah, I'm just trying to think. I think as well, like in different seasons, like you attract different people because your self changes. You might like learn different things about yourself, like when you heal from certain situations, or you were around people that you couldn't express certain sides of yourself with. If you heal from that or distance yourself from that, often like they talk about your shadow self. You can also have a golden self that comes with the shadow self. So like your shadow self is like the negative sides of yourself that you don't want to see, but your golden self is like the sides of yourself that are really positive but might have been repressed because of this, that, or the other. So if you kind of like delve into your golden self and you figure out things about yourself, or you explore different sides of life that you haven't really been able to explore in the past for whatever reason, be that negative people, be that just the place you were in life, and often like you can learn a lot from different people, like, so I don't think it's ever like a waste. Obviously if they're a detrimental person to your life, like obviously it's good to just build discernment. But yeah, if you are in friendships, I feel like it's never sort of a waste of time. If it was a positive experience, even if it's an negative experience, you can learn from it. I feel like it's best to have that mindset just because it brings more peace. But I've been watching a lot of narcissist videos recently, and I think this goes for anyone, in that when you're brought up, not everyone enforces into you that trust should be earned, and discernment should be had, and red flags should be looked at in life, and it's not your responsibility to accept every person that comes into your path, and sort of validate them or tolerate them in any way. Like, I always think drop what doesn't serve you. Recently that's been my sort of motto, kind of, like, it's not like my everyday motto, but I feel like it's not your responsibility to lack discernment. In fact, it's your responsibility to have discernment. Not that you don't build it through life experience, but trust is something to be earned, and there's a reason why there's red flags that come up in yourself, and it's just often that in the past you haven't been able to listen to them. So without kind of projecting my issues too much, I just feel like friendships are consistently evolving. If you are to continue friendship with people, I think it's just about letting them breathe, realising their capacity, realising that you're independent individuals, and checking that there's no abuse going on in terms of narcissistic abuse, in terms of manipulation, in terms of gaslighting, in terms of making fun of another person, because that's not cool for anyone. So yeah, and there's so many ways to like meet people these days, especially with the internet, like Bumble, meetups, like different work situations, I suppose, is always a way to meet people. But I always think don't make friends at work, or like if you do then great, but don't try and force friendships at work, because that would be weird. And if I mean, like, obviously, like I don't go into work like expecting to make friends, if you know what I mean. Like it's not really a social environment necessarily. For that reason, like things like meetups you can go to and sort of expect to socialize, not necessarily to make friends, but you never know. Friends sort of like it's reciprocal, isn't it? So, and I think you shouldn't try and force friendships either. Like obviously this is like probably a given, but like I think it should be a natural progression, and the more discernment you have from different people, the more you can allow a friendship to unfold naturally, but also with discernment and with the continuous comfort that they are delivering what they are showing you to be, and that you can get clarity of their character before you sort of open yourself up fully to them or give them too much in one go. Because I think that can be something that a lot of people, especially with trauma, have, or have had negative backgrounds or whatever. They can be very, like, apparently when with trauma you can be very lacking in trust, or you can be too trusting, and I definitely fell on the too trusting end. And so yeah, I just think you build a massive amount of discernment from different life situations, and yeah, being able to not trust if there's red flags is a really important part of life. So there we go. Thanks for listening.